You're tuning in to the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing after shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
I'm ready to go right now.
Are you? Well, let's go then. Welcome back to another episode of AFTERBUZZ TV's recap of Underground Season 1, Episode 2, War Chest. I'm one of your hosts, Megan Thomas, at Meg Scoop on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Periscope, everything. Make sure you hit me up. And to my left is...
I'm Jamie Banks, and you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at JamieBanks_.
Yes.
Y'all just didn't take a minute to groove at all this time at all.
I tried to like.
Y'all not grown.
Cadence.
I am Gary Thomas. And of course, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, everything at I am Gary Thomas. And of course, I am GaryThomas.com.
My cousin.
I know, right?
From a different family.
I'm Lina Green, and you can find me at Just Lina Green. I'm just Lina Green. You see how I do that? Just Lina. Okay.
We're having too much fun here. We're having too much fun. All right, let's go ahead and get into this episode right now. Let's talk about this. So we have a lot going on here. Everything is set with the backdrop. We've got a lot of different moving parts in the episode. Episode 2. Let's start off with one word. Describe it. Ready, go, Lina.
Sexy.
Exciting.
Intense.
Wait, you guys can keep using the same word.
You can't keep coming with this one word thing every
I
week.
don't have to because it's creative, guys. Come on, like your initial reaction when you saw this. Like,
Well, my initial reaction was like, man.
there you go. There's your one word. Man.
Ernestine is that B-I-T-C-H.
Are you gonna change from intense, Jamie?
Not at the moment.
Oh my gosh. I'm gonna go with ooh-wee. That's hyphenated, so it's like one word.
Ooh-wee.
Yeah, so that's like one word. I'm gonna go with that. All right, so let's start off. Let's talk about Noah. Noah is, of course, he starts off. He says that he's 25 years old because I was kind of wondering how old he was. I know he wasn't too old, but I was giving him older than 25.
Well, don't want to hear that.
No, I thought he was like maybe 30-ish or so.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
seems-
in slave years.
That's
it's hard.
that's
It's
like
hard
45,
years, yeah.
right?
He said 300 days.
No. No, 300 days. That's not even a full year.
That's what he was saying.
That's not it.
I know, it sounds crazy. He ain't smart.
I don't know about all that. Okay, so 25 years he said he's been on this slave, been a slave. He's not doing it anymore. We see that there's a lot of meetings with the slaves. So we see that Sam looks like he's going to be a doubter. I feel like you see how the group is looking at Mr. Cato, like he's the one that's going to turn on them. He's going to turn them in. I feel like it's going to be Sam. Because he's not so sure. He's not so set on the
I don't
plan.
think Sam's in a turn, but I just think that they are looking at Mr. Cato, but really, Mr. Cato's just for wanting power. It's a power struggle for him. I don't think he's in a turn anymore.
I don't either.
I think they're just afraid. I think it's just fear. Sam just seems like he's just afraid.
Because in history, you never trusted one who beats their own, you know?
Right.
No one has ever trusted a black slave master.
Right.
Is that what they call it?
It's
They
like
call
a
it
slave wrangler.
Yeah. Yeah, wrangler, black
Something
slave
like
master.
Yeah, something like
If
that.
you can go and beat your own,
Right.
something's not right with you.
Right.
You know, I thought it was interesting how this second episode they had a new beginning for it, a new little beginning. Did they
like
just
the
add
intro.
that? Yeah, the intro.
Yeah, I
And
think that's like the official intro, maybe like the official soundtrack
Maybe
for
we
the
just
show.
cut it off last week because ours just kind of like started. We just started recording late.
Maybe that's what it was. I don't know. But you can hear like John Legend. I can hear him singing in the chorus.
Oh, he was?
Yeah,
I've
so
been wondering if
I'm
his
pretty
music-
sure he produced it. Well, he's in charge of the music for the show. We know that, but
Yeah.
I think there's some songs that he actually made himself, like he's singing it. So that one is for
Oh
sure. You
yeah,
can hear him.
he talked about having meetings every week to do period music as well as pull up, newer music to
Right.
go with the scenes.
Where are they pulling this period music from?
They created some as well as used some spirituals.
And
you know Negro spirituals.
Some of the lyrics were actually used in old songs, like the Drinking Gourd, which is a reference to the Big Dipper. So I thought that was a cool historical touch too.
Right, go ahead, Jamie, with your book. You're
smart or whatever.
I paid attention. I guess.
No one's stuff more than us. We should know this.
It's the thing is like I know the songs, but I don't always know like the background behind the song. I'm like, I just know that.
So we'll take your black card and give it to Jamie.
All right.
All right, Jamie.
It's okay.
Jamie just rereading and whatnot.
All right, so then you see the slaves that are meeting. Noah's strategizing with them. He's telling them, okay, so how are we gonna get off the plantation? That's number one. He also says we got to get a gun. So he's coming up. He's some very bold plans for a man who's been enslaved his whole life.
Yes.
This is like big dreaming.
I think it shows that the 25 years, that's why they made a point of us knowing 25 years. Like, he has learned the ins and outs of what goes on. So he's strategizing based on his own knowledge. Right. He's lived this. He knows what this person's normal route is, what they normally do.
Yeah.
You know, so he's well aware of what he can do.
He's pretty bold. Like, even threatening the guy for the gun, like, that's pretty bold. He's making some bold moves, and that shows the desperation. Like, he's desperate. Sure. And I like that character arc in him, like this desperation and this anger that is fueling his desire to get out of there.
And I think the gun is a really good move, because when they're out there, they're going to really need tools like that, and eventually they could just kill people with it if they really needed to.
What else is going to make them fear them more than
and nobody's going to think as a slave catcher that they have guns. Like, that's just something slaves have. So that's very smart on his part. So then also he says we need pen and paper, so we can get that from Frog Jack. So I thought it was funny because first of all, you threatened him basically, like, you gonna give us this paper and this pen. But if you guys notice, if anybody watches Power on Stars, did you notice that Frog Jack was Tommy?
Tommy getting some checks.
Tommy is getting checks. I was like, how you gonna love black people on Power now? You like, what you over here doing, boy?
Well, that's another point they made earlier. That they said Frog Jack doesn't care really about color. He's all about getting his money and getting what he's supposed to get. So
right. And then of course Kato finds that Noah is out there with Frog Jack, and it seems again like Kato is going to turn.
I love that though, because you're thinking, man, he's finna turn on, but then he's like,
at every moment,
check him.
But when you're when you're trying to get the power, you're trying to have the upper hand, you do whatever it takes to try to get the upper hand.
What's Kato's game though? Like, what's the end game? He's just trying to really test his power, or what is it? Like, what does he want? Because even Noah asked him, he's like, what do you want? Like, come on, man, what is it? He's just like, I just want to mess with you.
Yeah, I think he's on a huge power trip, and I think in his life there isn't much like rewards, and so he just wants to have this power trip because he can. But I think at the end of the day, he does want freedom too.
Yeah, he does for sure. I mean, again, we'll find out, I'm sure, what happened to his face, but I have a feeling that's part of the reason why he's as angry as he is, and why he's like, I'm gonna get off this plantation too. So we also see that Kato, as we said before, he has some kind of a power trip going on. We're not sure if he's going to test the waters and just do away with everybody, but he makes a really good point. And he says to Noah, he says to him, I think you're using everybody. Like, I think you're doing this just to use them. And I thought about that, and I was like, well, he is using them. But he says that none of us can do this without each other, which is true. So is that bad?
Well,
or is it good?
I mean, think about a lot of people who have escaped alone have been captured. So just think, if you have more people, that increases your chance of getting away.
It also increases your chance of getting caught.
But maybe this guy looks resourceful. Right. Noah's not a stupid man. He maybe is using them to, get his own freedom, and knows that they might get caught along the way. But that's a chance everybody's willing to take. Everyone knows not everybody's going to make it.
Right.
Not everybody's going to make it. So maybe it is.
I think that's a part of life.
Yeah.
That's so morals.
I mean, that's a part of life. You have to use each other to get to the next level. So
basically, if you are Gary's friend, he's going to use you.
I mean, you're welcome
friends.
to use me too. Like, I mean, And that's how, I mean, helping each other, essentially that's using one another as well. Like, it's not like you're using, it's not an opportunity for you two. There's an opportunity for them all to get freedom as well. So it's a great usage of one another's resources.
Well,
but he's not doing it. I don't think he's doing it just for himself. Like, I'm gonna just walk on their backs and just get my freedom while they all get killed in the process. I think he has intentions of everybody get free too.
Right.
Have you guys seen Prison Break?
Yeah.
It's very similar because the mastermind basically wants all these prisoners to have a certain skill too, and so it's very similar in that way.
Right. Yes. And speaking of like many skills and also wanting our freedom, which I don't know what that has to do with. I tried to make a transition.
You tried to transition, but I knew it. I wanted to see how far you were going to go with that transition. That's why I just waited and looked at you like.
And then JP had to say something. Sorry. Come on, JP.
I was like, where's she going?
Well, at any rate, if our listeners and our viewers are curious about a celebrity's boyfriend's midlife crisis, enjoy hearing stories about behind the scenes of Hollywood, which we all live in, so it's tons of stories we probably have too. Amused by old TV and movie references, then you'll love The Tomorrow Show, which Kevin Underground, one of our creators here at AfterBuzz, joined AfterBuzz creator and Maria Menounos' new fiance. Shout out to them in their engagement. Kevin Underground, along with some of our AfterBuzz co-hosts, Roxy Stryer, Ashley Daniels, and others for all the insanity. Watch live Monday and Thursdays, night 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific time on thetomorrowshow.com, or subscribe and download free on iTunes. Go to thetomorrowshow.com for more information. I'm gonna go follow them on Instagram and Twitter and subscribe as well, because
the show looks so much fun. Like,
Kevin, if they've never talked to Kevin, you ever seen Kevin? Kevin is kind of like crazy.
Yes,
Roxy, I think it's gonna be a great show.
They say whatever, So make sure you guys watch that.
I hate how we just passed him getting naked.
No, we were coming right back to that.
We're going back to the show.
Did y'all see my face?
But y'all check out the Tomorrow Show.
Oh, yes, when they made Noah strip, of course. I was like, shout out to Aldous Hodge, hey.
Don't worry, I'm catching up. I'm in the gym.
So we're gonna be like, take your clothes off, Gary.
I'm like, okay. I'm gonna be on the next couple shows, no shirt.
Oh my God.
He's tweeting. No, don't do that.
Put your shirt back on. And if you have any comments, make sure you use the hashtag ABTV Underground. We want to see your comments. We're checking on. We might shout you out. So keep on shouting us, or keep on tweeting, posting, whatever, all week long, and we'll make sure we shout you out. Okay, so we have Kato on one side. Looks like he's playing the fence, but it seems like he's definitely going to be down with the escape crew.
Well, he forces him. We force him to get him into line. You know?
Yes, and part of that is when the slaves go to a neighboring plantation for a dance night, because there's a lady named Bareback Shaw, and she is the one.
Her name. That's how she got her name.
Everyone knows her as Bareback Shaw. She does this out of her Christian heart to get these slaves together, but she's really just scoping out some black penis. Let's just be real.
Was his story true that she always picks him, or did he just say that to like?
I think he just said that to get Kato.
Really?
And, he knew what it was. He said, "Oh, I forgot. She likes the lighter skinned ones."
Got him. But you know what's funny? Because you never think about, like, obviously, and we know a lot of slave masters would unfortunately rape slave women, and they would have these mixed children. But you never think about it the other way, about a woman having her way with a man. But I'm sure it happened.
Yeah.
And they said that Bareback Shaw, her husband died. She's a widow. So now this is kind of how she got her groove back.
She gets all those security guards.
I know. I was like, what was up with that? They over here fanning her, looking Egyptian.
She said she liked the audience.
What? And I will have to say, from the shadow, Kato went there and tore that thing up.
I know. He was down for that.
He's like, I would touch that old hag. Yes, you will. She said, come on, you will touch the old hag. But that's one thing that I do want to say, because a lot of time, in all seriousness, there's a lot of stereotypes of sex and sexuality when it comes to black people, and I think it's perpetuated, and it started probably from slavery that we see. We see that in this situation, she wants these black slaves to come over and so she can have sex with them, but then we also see the same thing on the Macon plantation with Tom Hawks and his group of guys that come there.
Because the melanin be popping.
That's what it is.
He said it.
I ain't gonna say no offense to Jamie. What is that?
Because the melanin be popping.
Oh my God.
Very uncomfortable scene to watch.
It's very uncomfortable.
I think you guys are always so uncomfortable when it's Journey. No,
I mean, but it's her. But it's even with that. Even I was uncomfortable with a scene with Bareback Shaw, because I'm like, here it is. I mean, that's still rape. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of times we don't think about men when they're taken against their will. We don't think about that as rape, but that's still rape. You know what I mean?
It is. I think I just kind of looked at it like he took one for the team.
That's not no. It's still rape.
It's not okay.
Yeah.
But in this situation, he had to do what he had to do.
No, it's like he had to do. Even if they weren't going to steal a gun, he still had to do it. It's rape.
You think so? That was
he had to do it.
He
had to. You don't get to say no when she picks you. You have to go.
Oh.
I guess they didn't make that clear whether he had a choice.
Yeah, I thought he had a choice, but then he did say
no. But it was one of those like you better stay in there longer. Like that. Now that probably was for the team. Like you got to keep it going longer because we need some time to go steal this gun.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But either way, if she chooses you, got to go. If you get chose, Gary.
I gotta take one for the team. Okay, gotta take one for the team. We need this gun, or we not getting our freedom.
Right.
No, but back on what you said, when Journey is on the screen, you feel vulnerability. You kind of feel, you can kind of feel like the pain because she's on both sides. Like her people are like against her, saying she thinks she's too goody two
light skin problems.
Yeah.
She has never had a winning moment. Like everybody's against her. You know, other than her mother and her family, she has no one. And she's finally finding, you know, herself and, you know, seeing, you know, Noah. And it's like she's feeling something, you know, she's feeling things that she's never felt before, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Since we're talking about that, let's talk about Rosalie for a little bit. So, you know, as you're saying that we see that the other slave girls kind of talk about her behind her back and they're like, oh, she thinks she's too good to go to the dances. No, she really just doesn't want to go because y'all are mean to her. I wouldn't want to go to the dance with you either. Going to another neighboring slave plantation with the girls that don't like me. Like, I don't want to do that.
I thought they had to get permission to go. Was that said at first?
I think it's one of those, like, if you've been bad, quote unquote, then they're not going to let you go. But I think that's for the, okay, you know, we'll keep them a little happy so they'll be more productive.
Not keeping them a little happy, keep them procreating.
True. That is true.
And I don't think Rosalie's mother wants her a part of that. She definitely probably doesn't want her procreating with a darker skinned man.
No, I don't think she cares as much. I think it's more like, you know, I don't think, because who else is lighter skinned then?
Well, because their safety. Rosalie's mother is always, her main thing is doing what is right for her family, keep them safe, keep them close. So if Rosalie decides to do something with, you know, with the guy from the field that could break what her mother wants, safety.
Yeah.
The safety. Yes, that's true. That's true. And so Rosalie, you know, we see that she starts gazing out the window. She's kind of looking over at fine Noah. Mm-hmm. Look at them ladies over there.
And just like her whole demeanor just like
changed, right? Kind of cute.
She felt something about that one,
right? And then you see her, and it's like, even though this is a story, there's a hero, and there you see that there's a lot of obstacles that they have to go through. It's still set on the backdrop of slavery, so we're constantly reminded of that. And I think it's a good thing because we need a constant reminder. I think even in 2016, we still need to know that our country was built on this. It's ugly truth, but it is our truth. And you see that in a scene where Journey and her mother are furniture, basically.
Yeah,
be quiet.
I noticed that. Mm-hmm.
They're playing, you know, the master lady is playing the piano. Miss Hawks is playing the piano. She's telling her daughter, like, you have two things in life. You've got to be, like, respectable, and you have to have a talent. You know what I'm saying? In order to be a woman, a good Southern woman, you better learn how to play this piano.
Yeah, and the little girls in protest like, my life is harder than slaves. Like, when she said,
I could have went through that TV and slapped the dog-ish out of her.
Harder than slaves.
Bruh, play this piano and shut up. Like,
what did you think about that scene, Jimmy?
Oh, I thought it was disgusting. Yeah.
Right.
And I think also it was interesting because Ernestine's son was there too.
Right.
And the plantation's wife, plantation owner
Miss Hawks,
wife, yes, Miss Hawks, was saying that he's going to go out in the fields soon.
Right.
So I think that sort of started this backdrop for later too.
Right. And here's the thing I was noticing. So we can see that Ernestine, who is Rosalie's mom, is really light. She's been on the plantation her whole life. So what I was thinking, I was like, wait a minute. I think this plantation was owned by I forget her name, Miss Hawks's father, Earl Macon. So I'm thinking if Ernestine
is probably her sister.
That's what I'm thinking. I think Ernestine's her half sister.
You think that?
Because I mean, why else would it be? Why would she be there? She's been there her whole life. Probably she's definitely mixed. So she's probably her half sister.
You think that's why the malicious, like, she like purposely says things when
on top of her husband.
I think on top of her, absolutely.
I think she knows about.
She's fully aware.
Her husband.
Oh, she absolutely knows about it, because why else would she be so vicious? She's always trying towards Rosalie, because as a mother, you know what will hurt this woman the most. if I get at her children. So let me try to do things psychologically. Oh, we're gonna put him out
she
in the
knows
field.
nothing else gets to Rosalie but this.
Oh, Ernestine.
Ernestine. She knows nothing else gets to Ernestine but going to her children.
Right.
Like Ernestine is pretty much straight up and down. Like nothing that bothers her. But if you mess with her kids, that's she wants them.
She gets uncomfortable, of course.
And Ernestine needs to get an Emmy for supporting actress or something like that. Ernestine has delivered some great lines.
She absolutely has. And then we see that she's uncomfortable. We see that the other thing that I wanted to point out was in the scene where Rosalie she goes to fill up the drinks for the men that Tom is trying to get to be a part of his campaign. They kind of really like her. They try to talk to her. They fill on her a little bit. And you also see that, Ernestine comes out of nowhere and she's just like, excuse me, man. Like, she came in there
She
forceful.
has some authority.
Did you hear her voice? Because I was like, she coming in there kind of loud.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
girl, you better calm your voice now. But it's like,
she doesn't let those kids out her sight. She knows at all times.
Right. I'm kind of having a dislike for Tom's character because it seems like he just stands by and let things happen. I kind of still feel like Rosalie is his daughter.
No, and that's what I was going to point out.
Rosalie's definitely his daughter.
She is, because if you notice, the guys, when she walked in there, the guy's like, ooh, yes. And he's like, and Tom says, I never touched her. Like, I've never touched her.
But he seems to not care. Like, they're touching on her.
Because he has to act that he can't
What
care.
can he do?
I don't know, but he could be like, why don't you go get out of this room and do something, like when she was getting beat. He didn't even bat an eye.
One, because he needs to impress these men because he needs their money for his campaign. Two, if he bats an eye, then it's going to break his power. It means he cares, He can't do that.
It's, I don't have children, but I feel like when you have children, no matter what.
I think in that, you have to look in that society, it's a matter of, okay, well, yeah, that's my child, so what will I do? Okay, I'll let you stay in the house.
Well, we're allegedly saying that. We don't know that.
Allegedly.
No, she's gotta be.
She's
been, I'm telling you,
that's
she's gotta be.
We don't know, but
and we don't know how many other slaves are, a kid or a product of that family, you know?
Yeah.
Probably a lot.
Right.
Yeah, probably a lot, for sure. And so then the other thing that we see from Ernestine that she tells Rosalie is that, I'll do whatever I can because I didn't want you. When Rosalie asks her, have you ever thought about anything more than this life?
Oh, that was beautiful.
Right. And she was like, I thought about that, but then I might end up on a chopping block or you might end up on a
sailboat. She gave us a different perspective because Rosalie was saying, have you ever thought about a life thinking about freedom? And she was like, I've thought about other lives. What that life is like out there, versus
more
being
realistic.
Here.
Right.
To me, that just showed how sweet Rosalie is and optimistic, and it really made me sympathetic towards her.
Shielded.
And naive, yes.
Yeah.
Shielded. There's she's been in the house. It feels like she has a completely different life from the rest of the slaves. She is on her own kind of because she doesn't have the same mindset. She's thinking about beautiful life.
Yes. And I'm like, no, they would have put me in the breeding farm. You know what I'm saying? Like, where I'll just have tons of babies that they'll take away from me. Like, that's the other life that's not
That's
here.
the alternative.
Right.
Because that's all her mother knows. There's not a life of freedom. It's either this life or that life.
Right.
But she delivered
That
monologue.
And you, Alexa Chris, and you're going to have to know.
She delivered like last episode. And Ernestine has.
She just has that fire with, she's like a Angela Bassett type delivery.
Yes.
She just has that strength behind her.
And that is and that's why I said I also think that she's the slave master wife. I think that's her sister because Ernestine's educated. She talks. She speaks differently than the other slaves. So usually that means you've been in the big house. You've learned, you've learned to read and write, or you've learned how to be more cultured. And I think that's why. So speaking of which, we were talking about Ernestine. So of course, we see that Tom Hawks is running for senator. He's trying to do whatever. He's showing these potential donors his land. They're talking about slavery, and they're talking about the things that you have to do is you have to manage your slaves. You have to grow. Know how to grow cotton, and then of course,
could it run on without slaves? Which was
a very interesting conversation.
Was.
You're asking the white slave wrangler, could we do this without the slaves? And he's like, then basically, who would do this? Me? I'm not gonna do it.
And it was just like the dumbest answer to even though everybody just stopped
But it wasn't the dumbest. It actually was a very, very smart answer because he was like, think about it. Are you gonna pick the cotton? If the slave, who's gonna pick the cotton? And so that's why they were like, well, he got a point. Wait a minute.
I think it was his deliverance.
Exactly. But but it was kind of like, I guess they didn't expect him to say that. Like, oh, we can figure out another way. He was like, no, I'm not going to do it. Right. And so then this is when we see the power of Rosalie. We see it come to life. Rosalie comes in there. She busts in the door. She's like, "Yes,
Ernestine.
this." Ernestine.
This is when we learn that Ernestine has all the power.
She does, and I'm so happy. Like when we see, I wasn't expecting that.
I was expecting. I think I wanted it.
For a second, I was just like, "Is this like a dream?" Like it just had this like it feel to it. It was like the feel to it. Like was John? Was he about to wake up? Was Lance about to wake up? Was he? Like was he? Daydreaming this while them guys were talking. He was just gonna pop up like this not happening. But she poured that. She was aggressive.
Nasty.
She was nasty.
I think it was actually kind of cool of Ernestine because she pretty much is like owning her sexuality to protect her children, which is kind of really cool because that's the only thing she can really do to protect them.
And she does that very well. She slaps them,
finger in the mouth,
all of this stuff. She's like, no, tell me that you're not going to put him in the field. She's like, I'm gonna work this thing because you're gonna make sure my baby's gonna go out there.
It's kind of another form of prostitution too. She's kind of using her body to leverage things, and it's unfortunate that
that's how it has to go.
Desperation.
That's how it has to be.
Desperation again.
And even a strong woman like that is still having to use her body to get what she wants because that's the only how. You kind of see Ernestine's reality. Like this is reality. This is how it is.
Yeah, you see it on her face. You see it
Yeah.
on her face towards like the end of that scene. Like she has this discernment on her face, like just like disgust. Like she really didn't want to do this, but she knew she had to.
You think she didn't like it?
I'm sure she liked it.
Ernestine
is obviously a little bit of a freak.
She have to pull that wine down her body like
She's
that.
a little bit of a freak.
She needs to know. You do what you have to do to protect your children. If you have to pour some 22 reserve wine, she probably talking about 1822 reserve wine on your body for the slave master so that he does not sell your children, then you do that. You will do that. Because I'm sure most mothers have done worse. I mean, there's a lot of women who will become strippers, who have even been prostitutes in this day and age, just to, put food on their table. So it's I think it's for me, it makes me judge other women who traditionally we would go, oh my gosh, why would you do that? It would make me go, you know what? I don't know your story. Like, you might be doing that out of desperation.
Yeah, we can judge somebody today, but we wouldn't judge Ernestine's character.
But it's no different. You know what I'm saying? It's no different.
Since you're talking about that, would you judge who's the guy who's been collecting slaves that pays rent? He's doing the same thing. Is that the same thing?
So yeah, let's talk about that.
He's doing what he has to do.
Jamie?
Yeah, I think so. He's doing what he has to do to protect his kid, and it's in a way is a form of prostitution too because he's selling.
Because he doesn't believe in it. And you feel sad. At first, you kind of do feel for his character. You're in conflict because this is a man who's an honest man, but
is he? I'm still confused of whether he really is.
I think he is.
I think because any man that would shield his son does not know what he does. You know what I'm saying? Before his son saw him kill the slave, his son didn't have a clue. He didn't take his son out there, and he's not rich by any means. He's poor. You see, they don't have any. I mean, it's just kind of, they're in a shack. He's got one slave.
And he grew up with that slave.
Yeah.
So he loves this man. So I think there's some conviction in him that I'm doing something wrong, but I'm doing what I gotta do. And it's the same thing with Ernestine. It's like, you see these parallels. I love that. It shows parallels of good people having to do bad things.
Right.
To get by.
Right.
And that's life.
You think he's a bad guy, Gary?
I just don't know yet. It really hasn't been defined.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, he says to his slave, he's like, when the slave has a conversation with him, like, why don't you just stay here and be with your son? You're gone so long. Because I'm sure when you're slave hunting, it takes a while. You got to go out. You got to, you're searching.
So it takes a while to find.
I mean, but if you think about it, though, because you're searching for somebody. You don't have any modern technology to search for someone.
He's really good at it, though.
He's really good at it. But I'm saying it still takes time. So now you leave your slave with your son, so you're not there to raise your son. Somebody else is taking care of him. So when the slave tells him, you need to be here for
is that guy his slave or just works?
We don't know.
That's what I'm saying. We don't know.
We don't know yet, but if he says we grew up to, like, you've known me my whole life, which means this man's been around his whole life. It's probably his father's slave. So his father's gone. It's typically, you inherit slaves typically back then. So I'm assuming that he inherited the slave, but he looks at him more like a father figure or uncle, something like that. As most people did back then, even though they still own them.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird, but... But, he says stay with him. You got to spend more time with your son. Don't go out there to look for another slave. And then he says, how many bank bills did we get? 4. We gotta go. Gotta
do what we gotta do.
And so it was funny to me when he says that. He goes in and he tells his son we're going hunting. And I was like, oh, that's how you gonna spend time with your son? You gonna take him out to go slave catch with
That's
him?
what I thought too. I was like,
But then he goes and he shows him really how to hunt.
But when he was describing hunting to his son, to me it kind of seemed like slave hunting, like the words he used.
I think it was supposed to.
Yeah. So I thought that was an interesting parallel.
they do a lot of
Tactics.
that elusive.
Yeah, like, is he good or is he bad? We don't know. And it was real hunting, and that's what I'm saying. So it was a touching scene too when you see him with his son, and his son is like they're washing their hands with the soap, and it's just kind of like looking at him like, so
Washing the blood,
like,
yeah.
It sucks, but you gotta, unfortunately, you're washing the kill of the prey of an animal.
A wolf. That's
right. You're washing that off your hands, and I'm washing the prey of it's a human prey, I guess you could say, off of my hands. So it's kind of one of those parallels as well.
Why did he kill the slave though?
I don't think he was trying to.
I think he was
trying to. Yeah.
He just like, well, I have to kill you because you literally about to kill me.
The guy was like, I ain't going back.
Right.
When he said that, he knew. He was
like,
I ain't going back.
One of us is going to be dead.
I was like, dang.
But why would this slave start a fire?
I don't.
Because it's cold.
Bro,
Yeah,
you
but
knew you were going to get caught. Like, you can't just start fires and think you're not going to get caught by somebody.
I mean, I'm with you, but it's not like he ran away. Like, he knew that he read the blueprint on this is how you run away from the plantation.
This is
don't start fire. They don't know.
I think this don't get caught 101 is don't make a fire in the woods.
I mean, but I'm saying, probably I have ran to a plantation before.
Don't bring attention to
you
yourself.
Might have been like, I'm so deep in the woods, nobody's caught on to me. I'm good. You never know. You never know. You never know. Okay, so let's talk about John Hawkes. We see that John is back in Philadelphia. He's with his wife, and they went to go see William Still because they're both, in the first episode, they decided they were going to be helpful to the Underground Railroad. We see that there's a slave that shipped himself in a box, and his wife as well. And from I know, Gary, you were saying like this is true that it happened in real life.
Yeah, I can't remember the name because I was reading it like a while ago about a slave who shipped himself and later ran for like Congress too. Like he shipped himself, went back, saved some other slaves, and then ran for some congressional position.
I think they made mention of it in the.
Yeah, I think they mentioned his name.
Right, and it was unfortunate because if you hear what the slave was talking about, he was like, we were in this box for 2 weeks, and it just kept getting closer, and and my wife's breath was beside me, and I couldn't take it anymore. And I think they were alluding to he strangled her.
Yeah. He held her so tight that because she couldn't take it anymore, so he had to save himself.
Right, and that's just sad. The agony. Here you are trying to go to freedom, and you almost make it, and you kill your wife because
she couldn't
handle the space. She was probably claustrophobic, claustrophobic and couldn't handle.
No, I think it was him. No, he said he couldn't take her breath on him. He's like, I kept feeling it. And I think it was like he was going a little mad. He's going a little crazy. I mean, you would, you're sitting in a box.
Then he said she was just moving, and she was gonna.
I think it might have been a mix of both, but I think it was also him going a little nuts. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, she's probably not moving. He's probably just in there. You just tired of somebody moving.
Could you imagine 2 weeks? No
in
eating.
A little box.
How do you relieve yourself?
And it's so tight that you like dislocate your shoulder.
Can't imagine that.
I can't imagine.
You know what I'm saying? Like this is the harsh reality of our country, and I'm glad we have a show that shows that. It sucks. It does. But I'm because you don't want to think about these things. You know what I'm saying?
I think everybody, no matter their ethnicity, it's unpleasant, and it's what our country was founded on. It's really sad.
Yeah. It is, yeah. And so they're talking about that, and then here come some slave catchers. They're like, we saw this box of it in here. We know there's a slave. And it's kind of like, I feel like that's what the cops do nowadays. Like, they just come in there, we're going to mess this up. We're going to start stabbing the floor in case there's a slave under there.
It's like they know they're getting hip to what they're doing.
Right. William still says that. He's like, we got to keep evolving. We got to keep changing. They just, shut us down from our other office. Yeah. So now we're in here with the whores and the criminals. And
that was a hard scene to watch him, like, because anytime he could have stabbed that man, like, at any time. They do it so close. Like, I love the writing on the show because they make everything so suspenseful. It's like...
It's the intimidation that just annoys me.
I thought the slave was going to be, like, go crazy,
Right. I mean, and rightly so.
Yeah, give himself away.
Right. He was so close to doing that, and then... Right.
I was thinking about the part where he ran. I was like, "What are you doing? You ruined everything."
Right. And then of course, Elizabeth is. I noticed this about her. She's very observant. You know, she seems to
super observant.
She seems to stare off. Last episode she noticed a little boy that's fanning them when nobody else is noticing. Like she's just observant to the stuff that's going around her, and she sees like, oh, the guys are still there. If you look on the window and the reflection,
it was so obvious. That was like, oh, what are y'all doing?
You know, and so they seem to be like the perfect couple to help with this. John knows the law very well. Elizabeth is observant, and she's like, you know, I don't want my kid to be raised in this kind of a world. So it seems like they're a good fit to help the underground.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
they come up with a really good plan to get the slave out.
Right. Because I really thought, I was like, no, don't leave the door open because the slave is going to run out. He's crazy.
He's going to run out.
You get everybody caught because what they're saying is true. If they do find him, they will charge us with aiding and abetting a slave.
Right.
You know, and that's against the law. So, of course, the slave catchers feed right into it. They're like, oh, beat this man up. Ha ha, sir. They got a slave here. And, of course, Elizabeth went to go to the sheriff. And John is very smart. He knows the law. And he says to them, no, we were beaten unprovoked. This is a free man. You better do it, guys.
So smart.
You better do that.
That's what it says. Gotta use the law against itself.
Right. Welcome to the underground, John and Elizabeth Hawks. What happened to Slave? Where was he? Was he still? Where did they put the slave?
I don't know. Maybe he slipped out while that was going on. I don't know.
Oh, I think they just wanted to get rid of those guys.
So he can run away.
Yeah. Okay, that makes, you guys are so smart. That makes sense. I think we covered pretty much everything.
Yeah. We ain't talked about how this little how Rosalie and how all this character Noah asked Rosalie to run with him.
Yes.
That's the very end.
That was like pickup line.
It was.
Run with me. Panties now.
She said right, like, she said, you said something right.
Right. Because if you listen at the very beginning, the girls were talking about the ribbons that you wear. Like, oh, this guy likes blue, and there was this yellow ribbon.
Where did they get a ribbon from?
I think Frog Jack. Remember she?
I know she did. One of the slaves went, but they all got it.
Probably so. Yeah, I guess not most of them.
I thought they were stealing it or taking
it. I think it's a tradition
that
they wear a ribbon and the guys wear flowers. So I think that they probably provide it.
You know? Yeah.
Oh no, they let them borrow it. They let them borrow. I think at the beginning they were talking about how one of the.
But it was from one of the girls. Yeah, so because they've gone to these dances before, so they all have the ribbons.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And you know, Rosalie doesn't have one. She's never been. She finds one, and I think it was really nice. He's like, "Oh, this brings out the color in your eyes." Or
she's like, "My eyes not blue."
She was like,
because you think about it, you know, she probably has never had a man like that she crushed on. Number one, and then a man that she crushed on that liked her back
and speak to her like that, not like fawn over her. But
he's strong. He's so strong.
He has good pickup lines for sure.
Run
He's
with
a
me.
Got good arms on him.
I know, right?
good arms.
Absolutely, will do. All right, let's get. Do we have any news and gossip for this week?
No.
No news and gossip. Let's talk about some predictions.
AFTERBUZZ TV predictions.
Oh, well, that's new. Okay, let's start with Jamie.
I feel like there'll be more tension between Ernestine and Mrs. Hawks, the plantation owner's wife, and maybe she'll witness something, or something will happen where she'll really see the extent of the relationship between her husband and Ernestine, and then this will. Maybe she'll want to send the son out into the field or something like this.
Right.
Like drama will be caused.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like Tom Hawks, no, his brother.
John
Hawks.
Abolitionist?
Yes. He's going to help them escape. I think it's going to be all intertwined.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to be
wait, you're the slaves from my brother's plantation.
Yeah, I think it's all going to be intertwined. He's going to be the one to help them get out.
Oh, yeah, of course. So cool. Of course. They have to be.
Yeah.
I think we're about to run into some family issues with, Ernestine and Rosalie and Sam, all of them. I think we're going to, because it's not what Ernestine wants.
Obviously,
so I think they're going to, have some friction in their family really soon.
Yeah, and then we also see that, so the next part of the plan, they got the gun. It's a good job to Noah. They got the pencil and the paper. Moses' wife wrote all of their freedom letters. All they need now is the seal, and that.
Oh, she didn't sell it. I thought she.
No. Because you have to get this. Yeah, that's the next episode. Because you got to get, back in those days, in order for slaves to walk around freely and nobody mess with them, they had to have papers that said, "I'm a free slave. This is who my master was, and now they're saying that I'm free." And it had to be with their seal. Sealed. And so that seal is kind of like your signature. You know what I mean? Like that's. So people know that it's authentically from you. Yeah. And so that is, in the next episode, we see that's what's going to happen. That looks like Rosalie's going to be the one, because she's in the big house, that's going to steal this is important. You need that seal, because if the seal goes missing, that means somebody's out here forging their freedom papers.
It's crazy to do all that just to get free, and you still gotta have those papers to stay free. That's a gamble.
I mean, look at William Still. He's in Philadelphia. The man's been free for I don't know how long.
They haven't told how he got free yet.
No, not yet. We don't know how he's gotten free, but he's been free for. He still gets treated like he's a slave. He's like, "Ah, it's my papers."
He said, "We're still the criminals."
Right, because we're worse than the slaves, because we're helping them.
Yeah,
it's a rough world out here. So I guess we'll get to see what happens with that. I think I want to say for my prediction that Rosalie's going to do something very brave, and I think her mom is going to now find out that she's a part of. Yeah. Because her mom's going to have to be the one that saves her from, she has to tell her mom, I took it here, put it back in the, whatever. And her mom's like, why are you helping them? So, yeah. Ernestine's going to find
messing up their good life in the house, the big house.
Right? Okay, where can we find you guys?
You can find me at Just Lina Green on Twitter, Facebook, all the social media.
I am Gary Thomas on all social media.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at JamieBanks_, and also on the Second Chance After Show on Sunday nights.
Yes, and I'm Megan Thomas at Meg Scoop on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Periscope, Snapchat. Make sure you guys use all of our hashtags, or use our hashtag, we only have one. It's ABTV Underground. Use it throughout the week, because we'll be reading your responses and we'll shout you out on the show next week. We're so excited. Until next time, y'all. See you later.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.